looking after that patient, babysitting that patient overnight before they can be transferred. Patients are sometimes waiting days for a transfer. And when you're talking about acute specialties, that's not possible. Also, if you run down services, you will have A&E will be downgraded, and therefore you will not attract the right quality people to work there. You cannot have acute medicine admissions without full functioning intensive care. A half-baked intensive care, or you will not be adequate, because there will be the patients who will need everything. But who wants to go into a hospital without the confidence that it has all the support of all the various acute specialties? So let's give me a couple of minutes now just to run down these things that I've made, which I feel are very important. Historically, the bed shortage in this county in Worcestershire has been there a long time. I was at a meeting, I can't remember how long, must be over 15 years ago, when we were at a meeting in the evening in Kidderminster, and Kidderminster was closing, and there were no plans for the beds that were closing at Kidderminster. It was being shoehorned into a building in Worcester, the new hospital, with no prior plans. And there were all sorts of cases made. Why we don't need that beds anymore, those certain number of beds anymore. We can work with smaller number of beds because there's newer ways of looking after patients. It's all rubbish. I mean, you actually cannot. With the number of beds we have in this country as a whole, it's actually less than most developed countries for patients. So, on that background, you just do not have enough beds. And what happened is what we predicted would happen. Most of the clinical resources went to Worcester when it was closed. And we said we needed some resource in Redditch. We never got very many, we got very little resources. But the patients flowed not directly from Kidderminster to Redditch. They flew from Kidderminster to Worcester, which couldn't cope. And then Worcester cannot cope. And we have forever been bailing Worcester out from Redditch. Although we did not have the resources to cope with the Evesham patients, the acute flow has come towards Redditch now. And therefore, and time and again we're on digress. I mean, Worcester gets most of the resources, but the patients, when they can't cope, so frequently, patients end up coming to Redditch because they're not coping, and we have to look after them with less resources. Very highly skilled nurses, doctors, are spending their time not looking after patients, but looking for beds. The matrons are spending day in and day out looking for beds, where they can put a patient, how they can avoid a queue. This is a terrible waste of time. And more importantly, when we don't have enough beds, it actually doesn't cut costs. When beds are short, medical emergencies come in anyway because they come through the door, they have to be admitted. What happens is elective work gets cut, because there's no beds for patients for surgery to come in. So what happens? All the surgery is cancelled. We have surgeons drinking coffee while there is theatres open and patients waiting for surgery because they don't know where to operate. It's not that they want to be drinking the coffee and not operate, it's because they have no alternative, because the beds have been taken up by acute admissions. And this has been happening for year on year on year. And then what happens? The patients then have to be paid for to be operated in the private sector. And this is what is happening. There is a route from no beds, patients being postponed, and then being operated in the private sector, or being delayed. And this has been going on for a long time. So I don't think cutting beds is actually saving costs, it actually increases costs. It actually makes staff redundant, being paid and not working. Surgical staff will tell you that. Surgeons will tell you how frustrated they are when that happens. And it is not an infrequent occurrence. I'll give you some examples. The stroke service at the Alexandra Hospital was a very good service.
Wow.
We had very good staff. There was only one consultant stroke physician really, and supported by another colleague. So it was not very well staffed. What we needed was a bit more investment, and it would be a brilliant. And we would have been a brilliant stroke service. So but what happened instead was, because Worcester also had a stroke service, some decision was made that the stroke service needed to be centralized. So the stroke service was moved from Redditch to Worcester. Some people refused to move, they still want to stay at Redditch, but the majority moved. And what has happened now is it's been totally destroyed. Even the one single stroke physician at Worcester has decided to leave. They cannot recruit people, good people, to work at Worcester. So a good service that could be supported at Redditch is now a no service for the county. It is not running properly at either place. And that is such a waste of resources in good service. I want to congratulate the Trust on destroying which had the potential to be a great hospital into what is now barely surviving. I'll also give an example of the endoscopy service. We had actually a very good endoscopy, still do. And one of the things we prided on in the Alex was because the waiting lists were high, we actually got nurse endoscopists trained, they were very skilled, we were able to go through a lot of numbers, understand consultant supervision, and that has not been replicated in Worcester. They don't have the same sort of, because they are, I think, for other reasons. And what's happened is, I don't think the equipment at the Alexandra Hospital has been updated for years. It's now becoming almost obsolete. Even Malvern Hospital has had £1 million investment in endoscopy equipment, and the Alex hasn't, and it's almost becoming unusable. And work has been transferred to Worcester, but Worcester hasn't got the capacity, so it's going down the road to the private hospital. I mean, there are some clinical directors who are directly involved in organising services who've also been running. I understand, but this is in the open domain. It has been under investigation. Okay, fine.
No, let me finish. Carry on.
It's a public meeting, so I have privilege. I think for people who run private services to also be in charge of clinical management. Because that does lead to perverse incentives, however good you may be. It can lead to problems. The women and children's services have been transferred or were transferred, and I can tell you that there were gynecologists at the Alexandra Hospital who were moved reluctantly to Worcester, who spent the first 6 months unable to operate. Can you imagine that, paying full salaries to consultant staff who are sitting there unable to operate? There's no operating theatre space in Worcester. And the theatre spaces in the Alex were running empty. So this was what my colleagues have told me from the gynecologists, and I still am not sure if they're fully being utilised now. The clinical management structure, I think no one here, none of the clinicians here, perhaps other than a nurse whom I do not know, has actually worked, has got inpatient beds at the Alexandra Hospital. So they cannot speak for clinical excellence at the Alexandra Hospital. The clinical management structure is flawed because clinical directors really nowadays shouldn't be doing any private practice. But many of them in Worcester are doing private practice. That creates perverse incentives. And I think that needs to be stopped. There are even consultants who are doing private practice when they're on call in the hospital. And this is bad management as well, and I think that needs to be addressed. And I've explained why the cutting down of services is difficult, because every specialty is interdependent. There will be serious incidents at the Alex, and recruitment and retention, when you start cutting down services or run a hospital without all the facilities or all specialties, will be difficult. We are given the excuse that in order to, because of the shortage of clinical staff and difficulty in recruiting consultants, it would be better to centralize. How does that help? The same number of patients need to be treated, so you still need the same number of staff. The shortage of doctors, nurses, is not a local issue, it is a national issue. I mean, there's been a neglect actually in recruitment, retention, in training by the NHS for a long time, and this needs addressing, But in the short term, if you want to attract staff to work, you don't do that by closing down services and making it more attractive. I can guarantee you, if we were at the Alexandra Hospital, 1, you provide free nursery care for nurses who want to come and work there. 2, you provide a return to training return to practice training for nurses who have been off work, who have been off because of having family, who want to return to work, provide a free course for them rather than having to pay for a year to go back to university and retrain, and provide better accommodation. We've got hospital accommodation that's been closed down. A lot of doctors and nurses and their accommodation make a big difference in the decision they make, but they want to come and work there. You could make the job, we all have to. Every hospital in the country is fighting to recruit. And there could be more imaginative recruitment. There are many countries in the world who would love to come and train here. Doctors would love to come and work for 3 years or 4 years and train and go back with a specialist qualification if we can provide the training. They don't have to blow up the immigration statistics and upset UKIP and so on. They don't need to do that. If you provide the training for them, and then it's possible. There needs to be imaginary ways of recruiting and retraining staff. I'm almost there, sorry. Yes.
You should have this job.
When services were being amalgamated, is we want to have a county-wide service. Some services will go to Redditch, and some will go to Worcester, and will divide it. This is what I've heard all along. Tell me what services have come to Redditch. When the oncology centre was being built, it made sense to build it in Redditch when we had more space, we had more parking. I went to a meeting, it was a farcical meeting. All the people, most of it was supposed to, we were told, wouldn't make there would be any cost difference between the two sites, but there clearly would be because of PFI site on one side. And we were told that there's no difference, you just have to vote for access, and most of the people who were in the committee on that meeting were from the Worcester side, and they voted Worcester. And that is what happened. Now, what services come? Renal service. A renal centre could be built in Redditch. I haven't heard that being mentioned. They're still developing a renal service in Worcester. That could be moved. There are and orthopedics. We have an excellent orthopedic centre in Redditch. Why can't we really want to centralise and move services? Well, no, it won't happen because the consultants in Worcester will say, oh no, we're not going to Redditch, and that will be the end of it. We'll have to overcome a small group of people who would like to keep the status quo. So I think I'm going to end this now by saying really there is, and in terms of integration of the service, only last month there was a meeting amongst the respiratory physicians to centralise services, which is good. I mean, in some ways you can have certain specialties centralised, and that's okay, provided both sides are supported for it. So the respiratory meeting went like this: we need to centralise. There's an independent consultant chairing it, the Worcester physicians ready to be all there, and the whole centralising talk then went on to how they could centralise it at Worcester. The physician said, why can't we move it here? Because we've got good nursing support, we've got a good background, we've got good support, good, I can't get the word, whatever it is, good sort of support systems for all the organisation in Redditch. The meeting went there, and that was the end of the meeting. Now, this is what will happen if people keep saying they can share services across. I think I would like to end by saying that there has been systematic asset stripping from the Alexander Hospital. The excuse saying that you have to have one central place to provide a safe service is not really on, and I don't think it because it works in other places in a different way. It does work, it's proven to work. I work in a place that does that, it works well.
Go back to Redditch.
Could I would love to come back to Redditch, probably they may not want me back. For the Alexandra Hospital. As I said, closure is not an option. Running it down halfway with some service is not really an option. No. The only options are either the hospital is taken out of Worcestershire, which is not done in any service. Ever since we merged with the trust, I think, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, whenever it was, we have had systematic asset stripping, and that's all I've seen. The staff haven't been listened to. When you have clinical managers representing the board, they are people who go along with the trust view, not with what the clinicians decide on. It's never been the case. We have not been listened to. It's not just the public who have been listened to. The staff at the Alexandra Hospital have been shut up too. So what I would say is one option is to take it out and join another trust. I don't think you join the UHB, you'd be any worse off. You might be much better off too. The second option is, of course, to stay with Worcestershire Trust, but then you need cast iron guarantees. What services will be kept, how it's going to be done, and a time scale. I think you need within 3 months a cast iron guarantee all the services that are going to stay at the Alexandra.
We just get lies.
You could make a slight exception, maybe not for women's, but maybe for the children's services in centralising it. But even then, you need a really good children's presence, because A&E needs all the major specialties to support.